people? Welcome back to another edition of Wave Files. Of course, my name is DJ Reg West. On this week's episode, this friend of mine is, wow, she's written some amazing songs over the years. You hear them everywhere. I promise you. You'll be in Target. You'll be in the supermarket. You'll be in the club. They're everywhere. On top of being an amazing songwriter, she's an activist for our singer and songwriter community. She's a DJ too with the wicka wicka on nice, I promise. I've known this friend a long time, and I appreciate her for taking some time to speak with us today on Wave Files. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend, Autumn Rowe. Autumn, what up?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be a part of your show. And yes, I've known you for so long, so this is just really cool. Thank you.
No, thank you. I honestly, I was as in prep for the interview. I'm like, yo, I can't remember the point we met. Like, I really can't pinpoint it. Like, I know we have similar friends, like you know, back in New York, but I just can't pinpoint the moment we met. It just gone.
I actually think we met through Asia.
But where?
I think we met through Asia Lou, who actually just friended me on Instagram today.
Shout out to Asia.
Shout out to Asia. We met, I think Asia and I were like singing together for Bazaar Royale. Yeah, we were singing for Bazaar Royale.
Right.
Back in the day at like Joe's Pub. And you know, we were just in the scene, just working. And we were also just hanging out a lot. You know, she lived uptown, I lived uptown. So we just I was constantly at her house. We just always meeting up, just going out, constantly clubbing, whatever. And I think we'd go see you DJ and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's probably in that space, right? So Bazaar Royale. Wow. Shout out to Bloodline Records. Shout to Beverly Bond. Yes,
Beverly Bond.
Those amazing things. All those things. Wow, you took me back to a moment in time just now. So
we've been in this.
Yes. And we still here.
We still here.
Let's take it back to New York where it all started, Autumn. Like I said on the intro, you know, like you have written some amazing songs for some amazing people over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you for these songs. But you know, songwriters don't often start off as wanting to be a songwriter. They want to be an artist. So
yeah,
can you tell me about how you got into the business and you know, the infancy of Autumn Rowe?
Absolutely. I got into the business at 16. I was interning for Island Black Music in the promotions department while I was in high school. And I was in like 4 choirs at one time. And I was just like, honestly, a little hustler. I was getting artists to my school to perform, like Public Announcement came. Remember Public Announcement?
Yes.
Yippee-yi-yo. Yeah, so like they came to my school and I started hanging out with like Drew Hill, following them around their shows, and just like I met Kelly Price, and I literally was just like learning and just wanting, like Cisco used to like text me advice and stuff, and I was pretty convinced I wanted to own a record company at the time. So I was like, I'm gonna start AR Records. I thought I was like a little Diddy or something, you know. Right. And I worked there for a year, and after a year I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to be more on the artistic side. So I was in all these choirs. I mean, I was like in it, you know. My choir, we were performing at Radio City, at Beacon Theater, working with people like, you know, Roger Daltrey, Peter Frampton, Phoebe Snow, Ringo Starr. I didn't even understand legends, and I was so young, and so focused on like the pop music and hip hop music. I didn't even understand I was like performing with a Beatle, you know, like the grasp of what was going on. Just so young. Like I really regret that now, but I'm like, I didn't even get a picture, an autograph, nothing. I'm like, so yeah, but I was like I was in the choir for a while, and a couple of the girls I met in the choir, we started a girl group. So we were in a girl group for like 3 or 4 years, and the group went from 4 to a different 4 to 3, then it was 2, and then it was just, we all did our own thing. And then I became the lead singer for a band. And that was like the Autumn band. And we were working with Swizz Beatz for quite a while. And yeah, for like years. And Swizz like got me on a song with Bone Thugs and Harmony called Candy Paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so excited. I was like, this is the biggest thing I'm ever gonna do. And it was so fun. And then we did a few other things, and then I just kept writing. And like being in New York, like I don't know if other artists are getting this experience, but like when you grow up in New York, especially in that time, it's like if you're a working singer, as you're in a band, I had my own band. I'm also in the wedding band. I'm also singing jingles. I'm singing commercials. I'm singing demos for other people. I wasn't even writing like that because I was singing songs other people wrote a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in a girl group, I didn't write at all. I wasn't even a good writer. And basically, once I started the band, that's when I really focused on writing. And because we're a band, and so I really started bonding with musicians and like writing to guitar, I loved writing to just bass lines, and then testing out your songs live. And that was just really fun. And honestly, probably one of the best times of my creative life because it was so like innocent and there's no like industry pressure. And, we were happy to make $600 for the whole band for the night and get free drinks and food and play at the South Street Seaport.
So happy and so ignorant, right? At the same time, just so happy. Yes, I love doing this. I'll do it for free. Yeah.
So happy. Like we used to have this residency at the South Street Seaport, and honestly, we played for 4 hours for like $600, and this was like a 4 or 5 piece band, and didn't care. We did not care. We were like, this is the best ever. But that didn't last forever because we do have like bills. So I continued to write and write and write. And once I decided I wanted to be a writer, I actually read a book called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Okay. And I read the book. So at this time, I was an assistant manager at a store called Aerosols. And that's like, do you know that store? It's like the shoe store.
Listen, I date women who live in New York City. Of course, I know that store. Come on.
Continue. Okay. So I worked at Aerosols as an assistant manager, and I was super unhappy. Like, so I don't want to say depressed, but probably a bit depressed because I felt like I just felt like I wasn't living my potential. I felt like I was supposed to be doing music. I didn't know how to go about getting into music. I used to go to all these like song submission events to meet music supervisors and submit my music. I just didn't have relationships that I needed to get where I wanted to go, and had no idea how to really break in as a writer. I was meeting artists here and there. Like, it's funny, I ran into her this weekend at the African drummer circle, but like Estelle was like the first artist, like the first female big artist I ever met, who actually recorded a song that I worked on. We never put that song up, but she was the first artist that actually, I never even told her this. I need to tell her that, but I never told her that. She's the first artist that like really gave me a chance as a writer. Mm-hmm. That's so weird. I never connected those dots, but that was the first time I heard an artist record a song that I was like, oh wow, like, so if I write something, another artist can like collaborate, and then she writes something. Okay, and that started like understanding how that worked a bit. Mm-hmm. Because it's such a disconnect if you're like a live underground artist to like this world of like pop R&B writing. It's like a different universe. It really is. Okay. So basically, once I decided, okay, I want to be a songwriter, I had to build a catalog of songs. And a lot of writers that I meet that approach me like, oh, I want to be a songwriter. I'm like, well, how many songs have you written? They're like, oh, 3 or 4. I'm like, no. Okay, let me tell you something. So let me tell you what I had to do. So I was working full time at a shoe store, and this is like opening the store, closing the store, I was in a wedding band. I was in my own band. So this is me working regular, working hours to make money, like 80, 90 hours a week. On top of that, to make demos, I needed to, and when I say demos, I mean fully written songs, fully demoed with all the harmonies, melodined or auto-tuned, whatever, presentable for major labels. I don't mean like a little scratch. Oh, this is the idea. We're just throwing some tune on. No, I mean like I need full demo because
full studio. That means you gotta pay for the engineer. You gotta like go down. And this is pre like like being able to do it in your bedroom. Like you're going to the studio to go get it done. But continue.
I'm going to the studio, right? And what young writers and artists need to realize is that when you are sending in a demo, it doesn't matter that you're new sometimes, because say you're sending a demo, I want Ariana Grande, I want Lady Gaga, I want whoever to hear the song. You're competing with the best writers in the world. They're not listening to this like in the world. The people that are having multiple #1 records, you're competing with that person. So, and those teams that do this. So your demos need to really be on that level. Your demo, maybe if you're not a good singer, you need to get someone who can sell the song. So this was a lot of work. So I was literally, say I closed the store at 6:30. It would take me about 2 hours to get to the studio. I would get to the studio around 8:30, work till 3 a.m, and then go home, get up and do it again. And also shout out to Rice and Peas, who are a huge production duo right now. They've done like all the Bozzy stuff. They were interns driving me home.
Wow, I did not know that connection. Okay.
Yeah, they were like my little brothers. Like they were so young, these kids, and they were driving me home. Really, we're still friends to this day, and we actually still write together. So, yeah, it's crazy. So, I lived in the Bronx, and it was such a hard year. And I have to say, like, it was, how 50 Cent be like, do or die. It was literally a do or die, because I made that choice of, I'm either going to make it or what am I doing with my life kind of vibe. And that was just at that breaking point for me. And I got so physically sick. It was not healthy. Like, I remember I got so sick and so underweight because I couldn't eat enough to get my body healthy for the type of the hours and the level I was working. And also the shoe store. So I was like, oh, it's just a shoe store. That shoe store was a very physically demanding job, because anytime someone would ask me for a shoe, I'd have to go up and down a flight of stairs. So I was doing 400 flights of stairs a day. I don't know, like an insane amount of flights, on top of like only having 30 minutes to eat a day. So I got so skinny. My boss was like, are you well? You don't look well to come to work. And I'm like, I'm doing my best, and it just, I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of sacrifice sometimes it takes with personal relationships, with everything, to really reach a goal. Because to be in the music business and to make this a living it's like walking on the moon, like there's no, in a way it's worse, because there's no like formula for what can work. And there's no like, if you do this and if you do that and you do that, then I'm going to have this result. Not necessarily, it's just, it's so hard. So you've got to really just give it everything you got. I know I really went on a tangent, but that's basically what happened.
No, that's good. That's good. So you mentioned all of that, but now, how did you said Estelle was your first placement, right?
She wasn't a placement. She just was, we worked on a song together. Yeah. It never came out. Right. So basically, yeah. So I built a year's worth of catalog, and on my, now I've worked at the shoe store for a year. So I had saved up a week of paid vacation. And so I didn't have to go to work for like a whole week, and got a hotel near the studio. And basically I said, and you have to say it sometimes, like just put it out there. And I said, I'm going to write a song this week where I can quit my job. I'm going to write something so worthy of some kind of success that I'll be able to not have to work at the shoe store ever again.
Mm.
And I did. And I took a track. I was given a track by a guy I never heard of at the time, because this was 2009, a young a DJ named Deadmau5. And this was right before Deadmau5 was really like mainstream. He was huge, but not like MTV. Like, I never heard of him personally, and he like became really big like 2 years later, I felt, but maybe I'm wrong. So anyway, I got this like just this like 6 minute long track called Brazil, and cut it up, wrote a pop song over it, and that song was called Happiness, and that song ended up becoming the song of the FIFA World Cup for 2011, and it debuted at number 3 in the UK, and did really well in Europe, and it was the door opener I needed to get a publishing deal and to quit my job. So it did what it needed to do.
That was a very big song overseas. That song went crazy overseas, and it's I think we had a conversation about this when the song came out, and maybe you remember, maybe you don't, but I was playing clubs in New York during that time, and like it felt like New York was like, oh, this is different, because like it was like a little ahead of its time in New York, right?
It was.
Like that sound was just like 6 months ahead of like the big wave, but I know that song was ringing overseas.
It was.
How did you get the track from Deadmau5? Like did you have a relationship with him already? Like this?
No. I didn't get it from him.
Okay.
Actually, my now publisher Danny D from Stellar Songs gave it to me.
Gotcha.
But it was just a track on the internet.
Oh, I understand.
It was already out. Brazil was out for like a couple years, maybe. I had no relationship, so this had to be cleared. We needed to get permission. This was already done for him.
I understand now. So he already had the song out there moving. You just decided to chop it up, make your own version of it, and write over it, and then the song got to Alexis Jordan, and then there we go.
Exactly, which is a good example for writers. Like, just because people aren't giving you tracks doesn't mean you can't write a hit. Take something that's already popping in another country, maybe like a great instrumental, do your thing to it and write something great. Now this song could have a second life.
That's a great pitch for kids, right? Or just, I shouldn't say kids, just anybody who's writing, like just flip it, like do a ditty. Just flip it, just do a ditty.
Exactly. You can, if you write a hit, it's very, very few people are going to say no to it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because it's going to make them money too, Like
exactly.
Why would they deny more money?
Exactly.
So with the opening of the door, so to speak, with that song, what happened next?
So after I wrote Happiness, it took like a year and a half for it to come out. Nothing happened immediately. It was very, so it took so long. It was like a year and a half till it actually came out. And when it came out, 2 weeks before it came out, I went to the UK, and for the first time. I'd never been to the UK, I'd never been to Europe. And I had a bunch of label meetings. I met, had a couple sessions, but like when you're a completely unknown writer and you have no buzz on you, it's really hard to get people like excited about you, So I felt like nobody was really interested in me. And I went back 2 weeks later after the record came out and debuted at number 3. And it was a total different experience.
Of course it is.
Right.
Yeah. We love you. Of course. Yeah.
It was a total different experience. And, I wrote that top line 100% by myself. And so that kind of became, this is kind of jumping a bit, but like also for songwriters, like I wrote all my songs by myself. It became like it was a learning curve for me to learn to co-write with other people, because like I wrote Happiness by myself. I wrote like Collide with Avicii by myself. I still write a lot of songs by myself, and I don't know, like co-writing isn't the easiest thing for me. Like I have to really be like friends, or it's an artist that I love. Then it's super fun because it's like we're like painting together. But that's just a whole nother thing.
Just to be put in a room with somebody that you have no chemistry with and you don't know is foreign to you. Like you just want to, your body won't accept it. I understand what you're saying.
It's not my strong point, and I have had very little success in that environment. Very little. It's so bad. Like my success rate is terrible in that.
Well, can you just run down some of the major artists that you have written songs for? I know off the top of my head, Zendaya, Dua Lipa, Ava Max.
Yeah.
I know I'm missing a couple.
I got a song dropping with Macy Gray soon. Actually, I believe this month. John Baptiste, who is just the best in the world. I'm just so excited for everything that's happening with him. I've written with so many people, from like Boy George to I've written with Florence and the Machine. I've written all kinds of genres. It's been an 11-year career of writing, so it's a lot of people.
No, I get it, but I asked that question only because like sometimes people like you said earlier, people pay attention more when you name drop, and it's not to brag, it's just to point out, like, listen, like I've done this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. FKA Twigs. I wrote a song with them, with FKA Twigs and Dua Lipa, that they performed last year, called "Why Don't You Love Me." Ava Max, Salt. So many songs over the years. Little Mix.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I ain't gonna hold you up. But over the time of writing these songs with some of these artists, is it more business with everybody, or have you built friendships with any of them?
A lot of friendships. I met Leona Lewis through songwriting, and now she's my best friend. We met 2011, I believe, or 12. And I mean, I was in her wedding. She's literally my best friend. And I've made some great friendships through songwriting with other writers. Most of the writing camps I've done have been absolutely trash as far as like getting records placed. But friendship wise, I've met like Lauren Christie, who is like one of, I think, only 2 women ever nominated for Producer of the Year from the Grammys. She wrote all the like Avril Lavigne stuff, like Complicated, and she's just an incredible hero. And I met her at an Enrique Iglesias camp in Miami.
So let's just back up for a second. So the camps you're talking about, these are songwriting camps, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are these put together by labels? Like how
yes.
are these things put together?
Yeah, these songwriting camps are put together by labels. Well, they're all different. It depends. Some of the camps are if it's an artist camp, they're put together by the label. Other camps, like I do some camps in Scandinavia that are put together by like different like performance rights society, like performance rights organizations, or like kind of government funded camps where there's different governments that are very much interested in getting like American and UK writers to collaborate with people from their countries. So they'll do like a lot of sponsored camps like that. Like I've done those in Copenhagen. I've done those in Norway. I've done them in the Caribbean as well, which is beautiful. There's so many different types of camps, but Costa Rica, France. I did one in France.
I ask because for say a young songwriter, like they are probably interested in these songwriting camps, but you have to be invited to these things. Is that correct?
You have to be invited to them. Also, like I see some camps online that they're asking people to like pay a lot of money. I would just say if you see a camp and they're asking you to pay, like really suss what that is about, because I've never had to pay for a camp. sometimes you have to pay for transportation, like for your flight, but like normally at least something is covered, you know. Normally a lot of times everything is covered, but like if people are asking you to pay to be at the camp, just like really make sure, look at your co-writers, who else is going to be there, and if you think it's a worthwhile investment for you, and kind of go in with the idea of like, you might not necessarily write your best song there, but are these the relationships you want to build? You know, are these people, be looking at the names, who's going like, oh, I'd love to get to know this person, I'm a big fan of what they do, or their energy feels like it aligns with mine. You know, I think those are kind of the things to like look for.
I got you. So shifting gears slightly, I know you also do some vocal coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the larger brands you've been associated with have been X Factor in the States, as well as America's Got Talent in the States, obviously in the States.
Mm-hmm.
How did you align yourself with those companies, and how were those experiences?
Yeah, I coached America's Got Talent and X Factor for 6 years, which are all Simon Cowell productions. And I basically got into them from songwriting. So like after Happiness came out in the UK, I wrote Alexis Jordan's next 2 singles. And then I started working with acts from Psycho, which was Simon Cowell's label. And I started working with One Direction really early on. And then I started working with Cher Lloyd, and I wrote a song for Cher Lloyd called Swagger Jagger, which debuted at #1, which was like very exciting to have a #1 record. And yeah. And then I was working with Leona Lewis. And so basically I'm working with a lot of artists under Simon's roster. And I was actually working with Labyrinth as well. And he's amazing. He's an amazing person. We're still talking. He's fantastic. So basically I was working with all these acts, and they interviewed me to coach the X Factor in the UK. I was like, you know, mind you, like all this is happening, I've only been now like professionally writing like on this level for like a year and a half. You know, so it's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Going in all these countries and like meeting these people, and like there was so much I still didn't understand. So I get interviewed for the X Factor, and I did not get the job. They picked more qualified people, which I completely agree with. So I did not get the job. And the next year they called me back and said, we'd like you to coach the X Factor in the United States. And this, at the time, you know, the X Factor in the US was like so much hype behind it. It was so huge. Do you remember like how it was huge? It was like Pepsi sponsored it. It was crazy. So the coach they had the year before me, I believe, was Claude Kelly. And what's crazy, Claude Kelly is an amazing artist, songwriter. Mm-hmm. If we go back to the choir I talked about earlier, Claude Kelly was in choir with me.
Wow. Such a small world.
Such a small world. So I grew up with Claude, and 3 of us that went to that choir, the choir, mind you, was only like 20 people. 3 of us from that choir ended up coaching the X Factor.
That's crazy.
It's really weird. No, it's like insanely like so weird. And so I got the interview to do the US show. This was in 2012, I believe. So my interview for the US was like on a FaceTime back then, because like it was in LA and I was in New York, or I don't remember where I was. So that was kind of weird. And I was like, oh, that didn't go well. But I guess it did, because then they called me for it. And then I was like, okay. So all of a sudden now I'm coaching the X Factor, and I'm the coach for Britney Spears. So I'm working with Britney Spears, and I'm working with Simon Cowell and L.A. Reid. And it was like, this is weird. Like I'm in the room, like, you know, like on TV, working with these people. Like, how did this happen? It just seems so fast. I did 1 season of X Factor and coached Fifth Harmony, and had, you know, that was a very, very tough experience working on that show. And I coached Carly Rose. Basically, all of my kids that I've coached are doing really well. I'll say that.
Why was it such a tough year for you with that? Why do you say that?
Live TV, when the prize is like $5 million and a record deal, puts a very, I think, unhealthy stress on people. And especially for kids, and especially for people who, well, there's very few people that isn't life-changing money for.
That's facts.
You know, just it's simple facts. And, you know, it's a competition, and it's also a show which needs to be interesting. So there's so much work that goes into putting a production like that together, between the staging and between the song selection and the song arrangement and the dynamics. Also, like, you know, Fifth Harmony was not a group before that show.
Right.
So we put them together.
And now you have different personalities, and you got to work together, and energy, and I get it.
People getting sick, you know, Camilla, myself, a few other people, we got severe food poisoning. We had to have like IVs at the show. Wow. Like we're literally like sitting there with IV drips, you know. It was I came to work, you know, and shout out to Dr. Nasari, who I'm still cool with as well, who was our show doctor. And man, like I shouldn't have come to work, but I'm such a hard worker. I was like, I'm not going to let my kids down. You know, this is a hard show. I'm like, if I don't show up, who are they going to have? Right. So, you know, I should not have come to work sick like that, but it's such a bubble when you're working in that. So I did one season, and they asked me back for season 3, and I actually said no. I said, I don't want to do it again. It was just
too stressful.
Yeah, it was so stressful, and I was, you know, it just didn't feel good. Physically, it was very wearing on my body. And so I left and got offered AGT, which I originally said no to as well. But then they said, well, we're filming in New York. And I said, oh, well, when? And like in the summer. I said, actually, that's kind of perfect, because summer, usually it wasn't that busy. And like a lot of people would go on vacation and go home to Europe or whatever. So I was like, it's a great excuse for me to be home in New York.
Right.
And because I was traveling around so much, I was looking for excuses to just be home, to be honest. So I did that for 5 years. And then I realized somehow I let something that was supposed to be a one-time fun thing to do has turned into 6
seasons.
Has just taken over. And I've come a bit too far from why I got into this, which was songwriting.
Yeah.
And the last year I did AGT, I enrolled in Scratch Academy and said, I need to like revive my love of music and find a new way to see music and a new passion for it. So I went to the orientation for Scratch Academy, and, you know, they were just talking about like hip hop and where it comes from in the Bronx, and so many things that just resonated with me culturally and gave me goosebumps, honestly, because I was like, I know all of this, and I've seen all these people growing up, and I know the story is like in my blood, you know, just like I grew up in the projects, and like I only learned music from opening the window and just hearing DJs play in the park. So, you know, like I was like, I need to pursue this. So it was so hard going to that school while doing the show, though. Like, I will say that. But because I had the training of like earlier in my life when I was in the wedding band, and I kind of went back to that hustle. I didn't let myself get comfortable with any like level of success. I was like, well, you've done this before, so let's do it again. And I went back to
hustle at the end of the day.
Yeah, I went back to that mind frame of, okay, I'm going to go to the school and I'm going to do the show and I'm going to still write. I'm going to do all this. It was freaking hard. I was so stressed out, but I did it. And I'm so glad I did, because what DJing did for me was it kind of like made me look at music really differently. And it made me look at up tempo differently. It made me look at rhythm differently, melody differently. I feel like now when I'm writing a song, I have a way better idea of like, can this actually work in a club setting? Just, I see things so differently. And now like, there's so many records that are great on radio, but they'll never want to hear them out. You know, they just, I have no interest, but it's really interesting now trying to communicate that with certain producers.
Right.
Because I'm like, I would never play this. Like,
Right. Right.
you can't,
Right.
you know, I'm like,
Right.
it's just not going to translate. And you know this. So it's been interesting, but I think it has helped my writing a lot.
No, that's good because, like you said, you have a more of an understanding of, okay, so at 95 BPMs, this is a good energy for the record to be. It can't be 68. It might not work, or whatever the case may be. And you can, like you said, you have a better idea of, okay, let's put a 4-bar intro, so maybe the DJs can transition the record and things like that. I get you. It's
Mm-hmm.
so DJing brought your love for music back. That's the crux of it.
It did. It really did bring my love back. And it got me, like, when trap was really getting big, I wasn't quite connecting with it, to be honest.
Me
You know,
either.
I
Okay.
love, right. I love New York, you know, rap, and I love a good lyricist. And, you know, I love Jay-Z. I love Biggie. I love, you know,
Our era, right?
right. So a lot of this, I was like, what are they talking about? Like, I don't hear, where's the bars? Where's the bars? You know?
Right.
Like, so, but DJing got me to understand why it works. And I had to feel it myself and see how people responded. And like, it was something I couldn't do without playing those records, and just helped me so much culturally. And for that, I think that renewed what it did was it renewed my love to follow my passion. And being a songwriter is very hard, and it's very competitive, and it's very redundant at the same time, because you are working 6-7 days a week, sometimes room to room with different people, you know. Eventually a lot of the songs start kind of having the same sound and just blending, and it just feels a bit boring. And you're not in the energy of you're not live, you're not in the club, you're not on stage, you're just in a room, often with no windows, expected to create music that's going to affect generations.
Right.
You know, it's a very different thing from like experiencing it and being a part of something. So it was good in that I needed to just find love for what I'm doing and passion, and then translate that into now everything that I do. So I think that just creatives in general should, like, if you're feeling dead in a space, or like bored or not inspired, pause. Find something that is sparking your light. Follow that. See where it will lead you, and just like be open to things. Just be very open to it. Don't keep chasing something just because you think it's what you're supposed to do, because you have no idea how big your potential could be. But that's really hard to like understand sometimes.
Yeah, because you can't always see your potential inside of you. Sometimes someone has to tap you on your shoulder and explain to you, listen, it's bigger than the space you're in right now. Kind of similar to what what you said earlier about performing with these legends as a kid, and you didn't really have an understanding of what it was at the time. You have to sometimes step out of your space and see it for what it is.
Exactly.
Autumn, I know we're short on time, so I want to cover a couple of more things before we get out of here. Something that's important that I love to cover real fast is you're a big advocate for songwriters, and I've noticed you've more recently than anything on your Instagram, you're speaking about it a lot more. Can you talk about some of those things with us, please?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, something weird happened through COVID where I started tweeting, and all of a sudden it make the news on Twitter. Like, all of a sudden I'd be on BBC, and I'd be on the radio, and this never happened in my life before. And somehow through COVID, I gained a little platform. And now I've like been in Variety and Billboard and all these magazines, where I felt like a year and a half ago, no one was interested in anything I had to say. And I'm not sure if I just wasn't putting it out there, or I just felt, maybe through COVID, I just felt like more of an urgency to have intention. And I was like, you know, everything's so like fleeting right now. We need to do everything we can to make this world better. So let me speak out on the issues that I feel like I'm passionate about. I speak also about like a lot of like anti-racism things as well. But as far as songwriters, like songwriters are basically like the most disrespected people in music. We are the last people to be paid. We're often the first people with ideas. We do so much that we don't get proper credit for, and we are kind of at a breaking point. There are a few different organizations right now who are speaking out about this, and I'm a board member of SONA, which is Songwriters of North America. And SONA is an advocacy group who basically fight for the rights of songwriters, and they go to Washington and speak with Congress and the Senate, and they do some incredibly powerful things. So I've recently joined with them, and I'm also co-director of something called the Songwriter Fund, and we just opened actually this last week. So any professional songwriters who are watching this, if you have had a hard year and you've been affected by COVID, we are giving grants for $1,000. So just go to songwriterfund.com, and we've raised over $500,000 to give away, and we want to give you this money. So basically, like, go to songwriterfund.com, fill out the application, and you might just end up with some money in your bank. And yeah, I just want to help. And songwriters, we're not allowed to form a union. We have no protections.
Why not?
There's some weird rule which I don't completely understand about, because we're independent contractors. Honestly, it just feels like when I ask, people are speaking circles around me, and I don't completely get it. But there have been multiple attempts, and we've been denied the right to form a union. And streaming was created by tech companies. The music business is making more money than it's ever made, and songwriters are making the least that they've ever made. If you write a song and say it has like 1 million streams, depending on how many other songwriters on it, you might make like $20-$30 from that.
Which is sad.
It's super sad. It's super sad. You won't really ever see me post a song that's like, oh, we got 5-10 million streams. I'm not celebrating that. I'm not posting it unless I got like 100 million or more, because I'm like, okay, now that's gonna be some money coming. But
Right.
if it's like 1-2 million, I'm like, okay,
Right.
what am I gonna do with that? Like, really?
Put some gas in the car. Right.
I'm like, I'm not interested. Now, if you own the master to your music, if you're an artist, this is on the flip side. This is the best time to ever be an artist in the history of music, because you can make so much money on streaming services if you own your master. But as a songwriter, we don't have those master rights normally. We're fighting for them, and we're starting to get them in little trinkles here and there. But for the majority of us, we don't. So we're not getting paid as much as we really should be getting paid. So on the flip side, if you're an artist, you could be making major bank. If you're a writer, you got to fight to get more out of what you're doing. A lot of writers are having side projects as artists just to make some extra money. It's a weird time, but I do think that change is coming, because nothing can continue without being sustainable. And as the industry is currently, it's not sustainable for everyone who is creating it. And the songwriters are the backbone of the music industry. So if the songwriters songwriting can't be something that's for rich people who live with their parents.
That's facts.
Songwriting can't be for people who come from money, because what that does is that eliminates a lot of people who come from, lower income communities, who tend to create music that really influences culture at the end of the day.
the better stories come from a place of pain. You know, they come from a place of turmoil. So they don't come from, you know, daddy rich pockets. It just doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't happen that way.
Now, let me ask you this. So pre you know, digital age, when there was CDs, and we can even go further back to cassettes and vinyl, and you might not know this because we weren't active at that point, but were songwriters making more money during that time period versus now? And how much more?
Oh my God.
Because I only ask this because I remember watching documentaries of, like, say, a Michael Jackson documentary, and people will be like, yeah, that guy wrote track 17 on Michael Jackson's album. It never was a single, but he's fine. He ain't got to work a day in his life. So
absolutely.
That's because of physical, tangible sales, right? Versus these digital sales, these digital sales, which are, you know, and just to you know, I guess tack onto it. These number one songs happen once a week now. There's a new number one every week, and it's because the way they tally the numbers now, because of the streams. It's so watered down, and I guess that trickles down to the songwriters, correct?
Absolutely. Listen, if I do love my technology, but there's times I'm like, damn, if this was the 90s, I'd be bawling like out of my brains. Are you kidding me? I'm like killing it, because back in the day, if you had an album cut on a hit album, you were good. You know, you were buying houses, you were having the crazy cars, you had so much income. Now you can have the main single on an album, and it's not comparable to what you would have had on an album cut, you know, back in the day. When you go to people's houses who like had mostly album cuts from those eras, you know, they're living luxurious now. We don't have anything that compares to that now. Like, the only way you're going to make money as a songwriter right now, there's only two ways: is radio and sync. That's it. You know, if your music is getting in film and TV and that kind of stuff, then you are good. And if your music is getting in sales, and if your music's three ways, if your music is on the radio, and normally if it's on the radio, you're having sales as well. You know, vinyl is having a comeback.
That's true.
Which is dope, super dope. So, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of older people are buying vinyl.
Yeah, it's more of a nostalgia thing, right? Like you want to have one record player in your house, and your friends come over on a Friday. You put on a few records, and it's kind of a nostalgia thing. It's not necessarily, hey, Justin Bieber just dropped a new album, I'm gonna go get it. You know what I mean? So
right. So
I think that's where that comes from. Autumn, I know we're super tight on time. You have 90 other places to be, but I just want to plug a couple other things you have real quick.
Yeah, let's go for it.
She is DJ Aftr Prty. That is the name that she tagged herself with when she graduated from the Scratch Academy. How you said DJing has reignited your love for music. Where have you DJ'd? Like, I know you called me one time, like, a Reg, I'm about to DJ on this golf course. Direct me on what we're doing. I'm like, I got you. Tell me about some of your experiences DJing and the good and the bad.
Yeah, well, first of all, you actually really saved my ass one day when I was DJing for Millie Bobby Brown for from who I'm a huge fan of, from Stranger Things, and she's done so many things now more. But yeah, I was playing for Millie Bobby Brown. The call was kind of last minute. It was my first time being flown to New York for a gig, and it was my first time ever playing in New York, actually. So it was like so exciting. But you know how, like, basically I got there and the equipment wasn't what I was told was going to be there, and a lot of things weren't really nothing. It wasn't, if this was a pop-up store.
The writer wasn't right. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah. The writer wasn't right. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is a lot for me to just wing together in a few minutes. And I also was just, I had to, like, last minute learn a bunch of new songs. So I called you, and thank God you came and helped me, because I'm not completely sure what I would have done without you. I didn't have, I couldn't travel with my equipment, because normally I just bring all my own stuff. But, when
Right.
you show up to a gig, you're just reliant on what's there. So thank you. But I've done like Veuve Clicquot twice, which is like this incredible polo match we have here. And, everyone from like Julia Roberts attends to Issa Rae to Benedict Cumberbatch, and
Very fancy stuff.
it's quite fancy. Everyone's super dressed up. It's like, honestly, I was so excited about that, because Pretty Woman is like one of my most favorite movies in the world, and that's where I saw Polo for the first time. And when I heard Julia Roberts was actually going to be there, I was like flipping out. Like, Julia Roberts is going to hear me, DJ? What? Are you serious? Like, because I DJ the VIP tent, so it's just all these amazing, like, everyone I love on TV basically is there, because I meet a lot of music people, but I normally don't meet like a lot of actors or like movie stars.
Yeah.
So it's like such a different world for me. So I was like, oh my god, look at that person. But I'm like working, so I can't like really talk to anyone.
You can't fan out, right? You're in work mode.
No, I can't fan out. I did get a picture though with Molly from Insecure, so like that was really exciting. I was like,
oh, you got to do it.
I was like, oh my god, can I get a picture? But I've done that. I had a residency at Soho House in LA for a while. Right before COVID, I was just starting a residency in LA, and it was gonna be so sick. And I just started. I played Vegas a few times.
Shout out to Eddie.
Shout out to Eddie. Just started playing a bunch of clubs in Vegas, which was really great. And I do like a lot of private events. I DJ'd for Jessica Alba. I DJ'd on Love and Hip Hop. I DJ'd on Jessica and Gabrielle Union's show, which is called LA's Finest. I've DJ'd on that show several times, actually, both seasons, and done like their rap parties. And they've been really, really great to me. Shout out to Anton. And just those kind of, different brands in LA as well. And I've played in Europe. I've had two residencies in Norway, and kind of was just getting started, really. And then COVID hit. So yeah.
When you were bubbling up over the past couple of years, did you have was this you reaching out to companies to say, hey, let me DJ your event, or were you associated with a marketing firm? Like, how did you go about getting your gigs?
No, a lot of them. So basically, like, when I decided to be a DJ, all I knew about DJing was like, I kind of just wanted to be old school with it and follow like how people back in the day did it. So I said, I'm just going to be really organic. It's not going to be a social media thing. It's just going to be word of mouth. So I started playing for people's house parties for free. And I just was like, literally anybody, like, I'm having a party. I said, I'll DJ for free. I would just like show up. I was like, I'll come. I got it. My first gig, I didn't even have equipment. I just said, no, I'll be there. And I went and bought everything. And I just was like, I just got to do it. I just got to see if I'm good, if I can do this. And I showed up. Nobody knew me. I just met the guy, my friend, Marky, DJ Marky Style. Shout out to Marky for giving me a shot. And he was like, you can play on my house party. I was like, for real? Okay. So I played for 7 hours. That was my first gig. Straight. 7 hours. I actually got like sick after that because it started raining and I was cold, but I didn't want to stop playing. I was having so much fun. It was so fucking lit.
That's awesome.
Don't know if I can curse.
No, you're good.
Okay. So it was so good. And I was like, now I'm sure this is what I want to do. I had a great time. And then I just started playing like for whoever else wanted me to play for free, really, until people started like, until the word was spread, like, oh, play here. And then eventually people would see me playing at different friends' houses and say, oh, can I hire you for this? Can I hire you for that? And then honestly, it was just very organic. you know, I wasn't reaching out to people or anything. And then just people seeing you. Oh, I saw you play here. Can you do this? Can I saw you play here? And then my manager, actually, shout out to David Gray from AIDA. He introduced me to this incredible company called the A-List, who I love so much. And they introduced me to Veuve Clicquot. Shout out to Christian, Ashley. And they introduced me to another brand called Sakara and Rothy's. And they got me like DJing with brands, you know. And these brand parties are sick because it's like all these amazing like people I love on TV come to these like very small brand parties, and I get free products.
There you go.
I'm like, I got Fendi bags, Chanel bags, this, I got that, I got shoes, I got all this cool stuff. I'm like, this is the best. This is way better than being a songwriter. I've never gotten a gift from being a songwriter. I'm like, yes. Let me look at my shelf of songwriter gifts.
Empty.
Nothing.
Empty.
A t-shirt.
A free t-shirt.
I went to a song camp.
Oh shit! I know you dead ass real. I know you're real with that too. You're at the song camp. But
you
no,
know,
but
I'm
see,
like,
but no, I asked that because, you know, like certain people are always curious. How did you get here? And that's key. I'm gonna go do your party for free, and until I get good enough where I can start charging people, I'm gonna come do your party for free. And you have music, okay? You got music, and I'm getting my practice on. So let's go. No, that's the way it is. That's the way you're supposed to do it. That's great.
I was doing veteran fundraisers for the troops. Literally anyone. I was like, I'll do it. Of course. I'm like, supporting the troops. Yes, I will DJ for you. I was showing them. I think that was the golf course because that was for the troops, and it was all men.
Okay.
It was all men. It was like a lot of these celebrity golf tournament, and I was like, what do I play for this? Like, you know, I don't know.
No, but you're, as you're learning, every scene is different. Every experience is going to be different. Every vibe needs to be curated. Nothing's going to be the same. You might have a few of the same songs within your set, but the energy has to be different. You know, like one audience wants to hear the whole song. Other audience, just the hook. It's everything varies. Yeah, that's awesome. So post COVID, are you trying to run back to the club and get your events on, or are you just trying to do just events, or are you waiting until 2023? What's going on?
Well, okay, the reason why I originally got into DJing was because I wanted to release music without necessarily having to be a singer. So what DJing did for me, on top of reigniting my love for music, was it got me a bit into production, because in my school I had to learn Ableton. So I started playing with Ableton and Splice and started making beats and just like, writing over my own tracks, and just felt like so much more of a creative freedom than I've ever had. And I think I'm still going to do gigs, but I really need to set my focus on releasing original music and then playing that music out and creating more of a show, as opposed to kind of just doing too many gigs without without focusing on me as an artist. So the focus is going to be more about the project, as opposed to just kind of like playing a random set. But I still would like to play for sure.
No, I understand. So the focus from COVID, well, post COVID, excuse me, is going to be DJ Aftr Prty as the concert performer, not necessarily the after party performer. So when you go to a festival, you'd like to be on that stage rocking your records. I got you.
Exactly.
No, that's an amazing goal. I think that's very, very, very doable.
Thank you.
Because these festivals are coming back, and you know how to write a hit. So 2 + 2 = 4.
Thank you. I mean, when I first started and had that idea, it was really scary to me because there just aren't many women doing it. And there aren't many Black women releasing original music in that space. So also, like, I'm not doing EDM, it's like hip hop, R&B. So there's just not and it's like upbeat, fun, you know, hip hop R&B. So it's just not too much to look at. Like, well, who's doing that? Who's doing that? Who can I look at as an example? So it was a bit scary. And honestly, I came up with Aftr Prty first because I wanted to DJ under another name while I built up my skills.
Got you.
Just in case I sucked. So I was like, just in case I'm terrible, let me just do it under this name while I'm building myself up. And if I choose to go and use my real name, which I might do, I'm not totally sure, to be honest, but that's why I created. And this sounds really sad, but like, I also didn't want to be judged for being a woman. I didn't want people to just like look at me and just say like, because there's no like Black women playing most of these spots. I just wanted people to hear the music and make their judgment.
No, I get you. But there's always going to be a first, you know? So,
yeah.
And I've, listen, as a Black man playing in some of the spaces I play in, I'm sometimes the only Black person there. So I understand, you know, your energy to a degree, with playing events versus playing clubs and trying to move into a different space. It's, you know, sometimes a bit terrifying, you know, but without taking that leap,
it is terrifying. And it's very, you know, there's a lot of sexism that goes on. And I have a lot of female DJ friends who tell me so many things, how like the DJ before them will sabotage the equipment, you know, right before they get on, just because like it's a woman, and all these kind of weird things I've heard about from so many women. So like that kind of freaked me out a little bit too. So luckily I've had really good experiences. And I'm not sure if that's maybe because I was already in the industry. And so people knew me, like the people that I would ask for help, like they knew me as you know, what I've done in the past. So I don't know if that maybe was a bit of a buffer, as opposed to just coming out of nowhere. So it has been very positive, though, I have to say. Like I've had so many great experiences.
No, that's good. Look, but there's always going to be jealous people in any business. So whether it be sexism, racism, or just playing off someone being a dick, it's just what it's going to be, you know. So we have to have enough knowledge of the equipment to know how to fix something that someone might have you know, sabotage. Just for an example, you know, being a tour DJ coming into a city. It happens so many times. Like I'll like the headline DJ will play, but then I'm up after him, so he'll do something funny to the setup because he's jealous that I might be getting more money than him, or I'm getting more shine than him. People are jerks, yo. It's just what it is.
It sucks.
You know?
It sucks.
It does, but you know, jealousy and envy. What are you gonna do? You know, just be better.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of being better, I feel better now after this interview. Thank you, Autumn.
Oh, I'm glad. Me too. I'm glad.
I'm super thankful you took some time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. Very very much up on the schedule. I know you have something with John Baptiste coming out. And Aftr Prty might be here. She might not be here, but Autumn will be here playing some parties and shows. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend Autumn Rowe. We are Wave Files. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah.